Welcome to another episode of the Carlito Monroe Show. I'm your host, Carlito Monroe. And as always, I got my social media information at the bottom. All of them are the same, Carlito Monroe Show. Shout out to my truck drivers. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have the different things we have on our shelves that are important to us. I know they're doing the job, but they should be appreciated more than that I feel that they're being appreciated. So anytime I see a truck driver, I always thank them for their service, just like you would somebody in the military. I think they're highly needed, and I think there's a shortage, just all transportation in general. So you see a truck driver, family member, give them a pat on the back, tell them to appreciate them for their service. It's not much to tell somebody you appreciate them. So what I wanted to talk about today it's not entertainment news or anything like that. I was considering doing a story time, and just another life lesson growing up that I feel like it was a good lesson for me. I was just trying to think of a good part to start at. I'll just start here. I was a younger guy. I'm not sure how old I was, but I was younger, and at the time, minimum wage was $4.25. And I don't know what the minimum wage is now. I keep seeing McDonald's hiring in my area for $14. So I don't know what the minimum wage is. But at the time, it was $4.25 an hour. So I had applied for this job, which was a foundry, a steel mill. Anyway, it was considered to be a good paying job, and the starting pay was like $9.50 an hour, which to me was a gaggle of money, especially for my area. Me being in the Midwest, it's at that time, $9 an hour was a lot of money. I mean, gas was, I want to say, a dollar something, $1.10, $1.12 at that time. So I mean, that's showing how long ago it was. So I got this job. I had applied for it, got an interview, got hired. And they had like a 90-day probation on this job. So you couldn't be late, you couldn't get in trouble, get wrote up for anything, because it was a union shop, but you had no union representation for those 90 days. And then once the 90 days up, you start paying union dues, and you're supposed to be quote unquote locked into the job. So I had been on a job like this before, not this particular kind of work, but just a 90-day probation. So I knew what it entailed. I knew that I needed to be on time, and if it was a supervisor giving me some kind of lip, I just had to eat it, because this was, at the time, it was going to be the highest paying job I ever had. It was $9.50. So I didn't want to be late or anything like that. So at the time, I lived, I want to say 28 to 30 minutes away from this job. So I could get there easy at 28, 30 minutes. If I drove fast, maybe 26, 27 minutes. So that's how I had it in my head. And me being younger, like most young kids do, you don't have that same kind of, you don't leave room for error. You just figure, oh, it takes me 30 minutes to get there. I'm leaving 30 minutes to get there. So needless to say, I was late. Most of the time I was on time. I think probably the first maybe 2 or 3 weeks. My first 2 or 3 weeks, I was probably, I was on time. Nobody ever said anything to me. And then it was one day, I was 1 minute late. And I'm thinking like, it's 1 minute, it's no big deal. I don't think it was even 30, 40 minutes in the shift, maybe an hour, a little less than an hour into the shift. One of the managers came out, or supervisors, said, hey, such wants to see you, who was the supervisor over the department. I go into his office, and then he's like, yeah, you were late this morning. Any reason why you were late? And I'm like, I wasn't late. And then he shows me on the computer, yeah, you were 1 minute late. I was like, man, it was just 1 minute, because I'm used to working at fast foods and different places like that. They said, nah, you're on probation. And he said, hey, I like you. And I'm sure he was just blowing smoke. He didn't even know who I was. I had never had a conversation with this guy. But then he says, yeah, I like you. And hey, you don't want to be late. I don't want to have to fire you. I was like, well, fire me? He was like, yeah, it's 90-day probation. you're almost a month in. You still got another 60 some odd days to go. You don't want to be late. You got 2 more times to be late. That third strike, you're out. He said, just think of it like baseball. Right now, you got one strike. And I was like, oh, okay, and I took it a little more serious. I mean, this guy got on me about it. He didn't yell at me about it. He just told me what it is. And so at the time, I'm like, okay, I got to be on time. I say, man, it don't take me 30 minutes to get here. So I say, I'll just start leaving an hour ahead of time. So at the time, I was working the evening shift, and I think it was like 2:30. And we went by military time, which was 14:30. So I had to be there at 14:30. I knew I can get there in 30 minutes. So at, 30, I figured, I knew I had to be there at 2:30, 14:30. So I figured, well, I'll leave at 13:30, which was 1 o'clock. I had changed my watch and everything to military time, so I'd be on top of it. And so I'd have my alarm go off to remind me to start getting ready to go to work at like 1300, which was 1 o'clock. And I say, all right, I'm going to be out the door 13:30. It don't take me 30 minutes to get there. I'll stop and get some snacks for lunch. I'm good. So that's what I would do. And I was doing it, 5 days a week. And I was on time, and it was a good formula to make it to work and to be on time. And I was clocking in 25 minutes early. And so I was always on time. Now, the way this place is set up is a foundry, and I don't know if people have worked at a foundry or a warehouse or something. The time clock at the time was towards the front. You come in, it was the security, you make a left, and as you go down the aisleway, then you turn into this open, then there's a bunch of time clocks in a row. And then your time card was in whatever slot, A, B, C, D, F, G. It was a lot of them. So, and I think mine was in slot G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G or H. I can't remember. It's like right there. So I think it was in G. And then, it was under my last name, starting with an M. I grab it, boom, time clock's right there. It hits. And when you clock in, it has a little printout what the time is. And then on the front, they had the little digital writing on the front. So, and you see what time it is. So I was on time every day, day in, day out. I'm going strong, probably about at this point, about 2.5 months in. I'm like 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks from being off probation and getting my job, you know what I'm saying? And then I start having union dues. My pay will go up to the $9.50. Actually, that particular department was more. It was $10.50. $9.50 for the regular plant, but this particular plant paid a little more because it had some kind of parts or something. So I would be going up to $10.50. I was making like $8 on the probationary period, and then when I hit the union, I go to $10.50. I paid dues, had insurance, 401k plan you can contribute to for retirement and everything. I think I got it made in the shade at this point because I had this formula going well. So what ends up happening is I go the same route every day, go to this little hood, little grocery / store where you can get snacks or whatever. So it's a store I was going to every day. This particular time, I go to the store and there's a bus stop right outside of the store. So when I turn in, I see the guy at the bus stop, and it's a guy that works at the same place, but he had already been there, 5-6 years. He's in the union and everything. He was a overweight guy, real big guy on the fat side. He was a fat guy. And he was out there. I didn't remember his name, but he worked in the same plant. So when I turned in, I stopped. Instead of just going on to the store, getting my snacks and keep doing the routine like I always do, I decided I was going to stop and say, hey, man, you need a ride? You going to work today? Or, maybe he was off work and he was going somewhere else. I didn't know what he was doing. But I was just figuring maybe if he's going to work, the nice thing to do is, hey, man, I'm going the same way. So I said, hey, man, you going to work? He was like, oh, yeah, man, I'm glad to see you, man. Yeah, I was going to catch the bus. My truck broke down. And no. He give me all this. I said, oh, yeah, I'm going to work. I'm going to stop and get snacks. So he said, and I'm like, chatting it up with him. I was like, I come by here every day. He said, oh, you do? Oh, man, you can pick me up for work. You can drop me off from work. If I knew better, I would have never got that started. But I was younger. I'm trying to chum it up with whomever I'm working with. So I don't want to rock any boats. I don't want any trouble. I don't want to get anybody upset with me. I'm like, yeah, I'm coming this way. It's not much of an inconvenience. The way I look at it, I don't mind somebody riding with me. He was a big guy, and I had I can't remember what year my truck was, but it was a little small S10, a little box style S10. It was a single cab. Now I'm 6'4", and at the time I was slimmer. So, it was already, my knee would hit the hit the bottom of the dash every time I changed gears because it was a stick shift. Now I got this fat guy. He wasn't as tall as me, but he was really wide. So the normal elbow room that I'd have in my own vehicle, I didn't have that anymore. So now that when I changed gears on the stick shift, my elbow was up against me and I had to reach over and change like this around his arm and thigh because he was so wide. And it's 10. And he filled up this whole area and he had a stench to him. I regretted this right away, and I gave him the ride, and then I decided I'm going to go in the store. I'm going to go ahead and go to work because I'm looking at time. I want to be on time. So I'm going on to work, and he's talking. His breath is bad. He has a stench to him, and he's taking up space. And, you had his S10 seat, his 2 seats. He's taking a seat and a half. So he's invading my space because his arm is up against my arm on this side while I'm still trying to reach at his knee to stick shift. I say, I gotta get it in 4th gear or whatever. And then my knee is already hitting the dash, which it did anyway, but I got used to that. It was my truck. So it just became a huge headache for me just driving by myself and getting to work. So get to work. I get out, he gets out, close the door, whatever, walking up to go into the job. He's a big guy, so he's walking slow and he's swaying. I don't want to just walk and speed walk and walk away from the guy. I wasn't running late, so I just walked with him. So I had to slow down my normal long stride, me being a taller guy. I had to slow down my normal longer stride to walk slower with this big dude. Just to, I guess, just being a cordial kind of thing. So I did that. I'm walking with him. We get on into the place, and then he go his work over in the department he was in. It was the same department, but a different portion. I work on my side. So he's like, oh, yeah, man, give me a ride home too, man. When we get done, give me a ride home. I'm like, yeah, sure. I'm just being a nice guy. So needless to say, we can get off work, same thing. Slow walking. I got to slow down my pace of walk to stay with him. He's talking up, blah, 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 blah. He's talking. And I'm just like, man, I regret this whole thing. Then there's, because when you got off work, it being a steel mill, everybody gets off at the same time. I don't know if you've seen movies or see like at a, just like movies or worked at a steel mill, the buzzer goes like, it's like this buzzer. So everybody's like this big line of people walking out, everybody's chattering, everybody's kind of rushed. They want to get out of there. So we worked that evening shift. It was 2:30 to, I want to say 11 or something. I can't remember exactly, but the buzzer going out, you out the door. So I'm walking slower. My strides are slower just to keep up with him because he's swaying and walking slower, and then people are going around us and they're getting up out of there. But I already gave him, promised him a ride home. So we get out of there. He gets in the truck. He smells even worse because we've been sweating in this plant. There's no air conditioning except for in the offices. So we was, he had the big fans, but you weren't really cool. So you sweat and you have a stench. And so he smelled worse. So when I get off work, he smelled worse than he did bringing him to work. So I had to deal with this. I had the window down, but it just wasn't enough. It was a little small cab truck. I'd take him, drop him off. Yeah, I'll see you in the morning, man. I'll see you in the morning. Okay. Very next morning, I pull out there. He's at the sidewalk. I'm like, oh, well, I guess this ain't that bad. Maybe he showered or did better. He smelled worse then than he did the night before, which led me to believe he didn't even take a shower or bath or nothing that night. He just came back to work the next evening, the same stuff, had on the same clothes, had the same smell, terrible. But he was out there waiting. I didn't stop to get snacks. I said, I ain't got time for this. I'm going. I took off, and he says, oh, man, I need to stop at the store. Now, I left an hour ahead of time. I was like, I wasn't going to stop at the store. But I said, I'm dealing with, I said, well, give me a break. He said he need to stop. All right, I stop at the store. And he figured, oh, man, you always stop. I don't know why you wasn't stopping today, man. Stop at the store. Stopped at the store. I go ahead and get my few little snacks. He's getting stuff. He's chatting with me the whole time. He following me around, getting stuff, chatting. I go up to the window to pay for my stuff. He puts his stuff up there with my stuff. And then I look at him, and the girl at the counter, she scans all the stuff, and it was like, I don't know, it was like $16 worth of stuff. He got more snacks than I did, and I end up paying for all of it. Now, I didn't have to pay for all of it, but I'm still trying to deal with the guy. Meanwhile, I'm giving him a ride to work, giving him a ride from work, and now I done bought his snacks. And he had more snacks than me. So I say, hey, well, these are mine. This bag is separately. I'd already paid for all of it. So he get his snacks. He never said thank you anything. He just got the snacks and was like, he's in my truck. He's eating the snacks. Now I'm smelling his breath more, along with Funyuns and chips and drinks. He's drinking sodas and a thing. And I'm just like, he belching and going on. And I'm just like, what the hell is going on here? I'm getting irritated by the second. I really want to curse him out, kick him out the vehicle. But I already said, yeah, I'm still trying to get along with this guy. I'm smelling his breath, what he's eating, he's belching, he thinking it's funny. It just annoyed me to no end. Get to work and get off. I'm not waiting on him. I get out of my truck, I'm walking. He trying to talk to me while I'm walking. I just keep walking faster because I don't want to take any more time walking. I go in, clock in, go into my department. At lunchtime, he say, oh, yeah, man, yeah, don't forget me today. Give me a ride. Don't forget, I'm leaving with you. I said, okay. I'm still trying to be a nice guy. Okay. I get him, do the same thing. He's walking slow. Get to my truck, drop him off at home. I say, hey, man, I'm going to be here tomorrow, such and such. Man, you need to be out there or whatever. I told him, he was out there the first time when I told him, say, hey, I'll be here tomorrow. Be out there. First day, I picked him up. He was out there. This next day, after me telling him that, I come through there, he's not out there. And I pull up and I'm sitting there. He's not at the door, he's not out there, he's not anything. And so I blow the horn, and then he comes out the door, and then he comes, oh, yeah. He's coming from his door, gets in the vehicle. Hey, man, I need to stop at the store. And I was like, well, I ain't stopping at the store. I said, but if you need to, all right, I'll stop. You ain't gonna go in and get nothing? I said, nah, I don't want nothing. And I did, but how you got me last time, he threw the stuff up there with mine. I said, nah, I don't want nothing. So I'm stopping there waiting for him to get out, go get him some snack. He was like, oh, well, man, I don't need no snacks anyway. We can go on to work. So he was just planning on taking advantage of some more. Figured he gonna get some more free snacks out of me like he did the day before. I'm already peeved at him because I had to blow the horn for him to come out. But the day before, he was working at the sidewalk. This day, I had to blow the horn for him to come out. So we go on to the store. Go on to work. Get to work. I'm not talking to dude. I'm not waiting, walking with him. Yeah, I'm going to take you home after work. All right. I'm not waiting to walk with him, leaving after work. I'll walk on and get to my truck, but I'm at the truck just waiting now because he ain't there yet. And then I get out of my truck to look. He's over there chatting it up with a coworker in front of the plant. And I'm like, well, maybe he got a ride with that coworker. So I start my truck to leave. I go, it was 2 exits. Well, it was 3 exits. It was 2 on the front, and then it was 1 in the back people rarely use because it had the potholes in the road that could get you over to the highway. So most people went on the main road out there because it was smoother. So I went out there front way, and I wasn't going to ask him, did he need a ride? I figured he did. He over there chatting with this guy, whatever. Figured he talking him about getting a ride. Maybe he thought I left him. So I pull out, and he starts yelling, hey, hold on. And then he say bye to that dude. And then he coming, man, wish you leave me? I was waiting on you to pull up here. I was like, you waiting on me to pull up to pick you up? He's like, yeah, I figured you was already at the truck, and you picked me up front. And I just looked at him, and I just shook my head. I said, okay. I just said, okay. I didn't want to argue with him. I was already here. Meanwhile, I'm still on probation. I'm trying not to get into it with this guy. I had about as much as I could stand out of him. Drop him off at home. I say, hey, man, you need to be out here waiting in the morning. I don't want to have to leave. Oh, no, man, I'll be here. I pull up. He's not there. I blow the horn. He don't come to the door. I was like, maybe he ain't going to work today. I blow the horn again. And then a arm and a finger comes out the door saying 1 minute. And I'm assuming it was him or maybe it was his wife. I never seen his wife, but they said he was married. I was like, I'm shaking my head, and I'm not even really thinking about what time it is. But time is going on. Then I'm sitting there. And like 10, 15 minutes had went by, and I hadn't even really thought about it because I was just so mad and infuriated. And then I thought about it. I'm like, I got to get to work. So I look at my watch, and like I said before, it didn't take long from where he lived. I could get there in 20 minutes. And but at the time, it was like 150 or something like that, 155 or something like that. And I hadn't played it that close since that first 2-3 weeks I was working there, and I wasn't on probation yet. So I'm like, yo, man, I ain't got time for this. So when he finally comes out of the door, he comes out of the door with a huge trash bag. And I'm like, the hell is this? And he throws a trash bag on the back of my truck, and then he get in. He was like, all right, man, let's go downtown there. I need to go over to the aluminum place, the aluminum recycling place. I was like, aluminum recycling? What are you talking about? He was like, yeah, I got my cans, man. I need to trade them in. Give me some scratch. And then I was like, man, hey, man, I got to get to work. I'm on probation, man. I got to get to work, man. You already running late because you wasn't out on the curb. He said, oh, it ain't going to take that long. Don't nobody be there around this time. Hey, man, we can just stop by there. We ain't even got to stop by the store. He's saying we don't even have to stop by the store as if I'm the one that always want to go to the store. Since he had been riding with me, I wasn't going. My plan was never to go to the store again, or go to the store before I even pick him up, or get snacks the night before. I had a whole different view of it. I had no reason to go to the store because I wasn't putting myself back in that position where I'm going to be paying for his stuff. So I'm like, nah, man. I said, man, that's out the way, because it's also out the way to go to this aluminum place. Man, it'll take 5 minutes, man. You wasting time talking about it now. Man, just go on down to the damn store, man. It ain't gonna take that long. Going to the aluminum place. I take off. I'm taking it out on my truck. I'm mad. I'm driving real fast when I should have just said, nah, we going to work, and just headed to work. That's what I should have been doing. It was a lesson for me being a young man, and these are the same lessons I tell my kids. You know, it was don't let people take advantage of you. But he was taking advantage of me on every turn. He wasn't giving me gas to be picking him up back and forth to work. If I was going to go to the store, he's going to throw his snacks on there. And then he's taking advantage of me even further by not being out here. I'm telling him, hey, I'm giving you a ride. You need to be out here so I can take you. You know, if you're going to get a ride, I shouldn't be inconvenienced anyway. Now he wants to go down to this aluminum place. I'm driving fast. Hey, man, you need to slow down. You're going to get your ticket. I say, look, man, you don't want to go to this aluminum place. We going to this aluminum place, and it better not take more than 5 minutes. I got to get to work. Oh, yeah, man, it ain't going to take long. Get to the aluminum place. Needless to say, everybody in that city had to been needing to take their aluminum cans or whatever they had aluminum to the aluminum place that day. Because it seemed like it was so many people there. And I'm like, man, this ain't real, man. Oh, I ain't gonna take long. They over there for something else. This part over here, that's just for my cans. He goes in there with the cans. Time goes by. I don't remember how long it was, but it was a while. And I'm getting antsy. And it could have been 2 minutes, but it felt like 20 minutes. So I'm just sitting there like, man, dude need to come on, man. If I said, man, I get out my truck. I storm in there. I'm looking for him. He's there with his cans. The cans are in the bag on the scale, and the guy's just standing there with his arms folded, the guy who works there or who's in charge of giving people money for the cans. Now, there was nobody in line for that. He was right. They was there for somebody else. But the dude was there to debate what the guy was willing to give him for them bag of cans. So he's like, oh, man, I can get more than that. Down at such and such, man. You know you trying to screw me. You need to give me more than that. Because his cans, I want to say it was like $13. I mean, it was like virtually no money. And the guy was like, hey, that's what it weighs. That's what I'm giving you, $13. Oh, man, it should be. As a matter of fact, it wasn't $13. I remember it being 12 something, 12 and some change. I just rounded it up to 13. Oh, man, it can't be more than that. That don't make no sense, man. You can give me more than that. And I'm like, yo, I knew his name at the time. I'm like, hey, man, we got to go. And he's steady going on trying to work his deal. I said, hey, man, we got to go, man. I said, dude, we got to go. I kept calling his name, we got to go. And the white guy who was, who just had his arms folded, like, I'm not coming off of that price while he's pleading his case. And I said, hey, man, and I grabbed his arm to turn him like, hey, man, we got to go. He snatched out of my hand and he was like, don't you touch me. Don't you see I'm over here handling business? And he cursed me up and down and told me to go back outside and wait till I get done with my business. I mean, I remember vividly, but I don't want to just go into this whole foul language tirade that the dude gave me. And I was just sitting there in awe. My mouth was open like, I can't believe the dude did me like this. So needless to say, I left. I went and got back in my truck, just like he said. Looking back on it, I regret all the different things that went on. I regretted it every way. I said, man, I should have did this. I should have did this. Looking back on it now. So when I went back to my truck, I got in my truck and I just sat there and was just mad. I said, I ought to leave him. I'll just leave him here. I said, I need to leave this dude here, but I wouldn't leave him. Then he comes out and then he gets in the truck and then he turns in the truck. He was already a big guy. He turns, hey, when I'm handling business, you don't say nothing to me until I'm done with my business. You heard me? He getting me straight. And I just looked at him. I said, yes, sir. That's all I said. I said, yes, sir. And I took off. I was taking it out of my gear shift, trying to get to work on time. I'm hitting running stop signs, running lights, turning corners. Hey, you need to slow this truck down, man. I ain't going to be riding with you driving like this. This is what he tells me. I'm still driving the same, ignoring him. Jumped the tracks, pull into the parking lot, stopped the truck, got out, heading to the building. And he like, hey, hold on, man. So I'm walking fast. Now, looking back on it, I wasn't walking fast because I was worried about being late. I had already felt like I was going to be late and I'm fired at this point. I was walking fast because I didn't want to be walking with him at all. And I was so upset and so mad at him when I should have been at myself. So I'm walking fast. I'm, mad, but I'm not even considering trying to get there and clock in on time. So I get to the time clock and I looked at the clock and it had 14:30 on there. And I was like, oh shit. I'm looking for my car. Really, it's always in the same place. I get my car and I hit it. And then I looked at the time and it had 14:31. And then my heart just dropped into my underwear. I was just like, I'm fired because I had already been late twice. And one of the times was when I first started, like my second day working, and I was like 3 minutes late or something. And I had forgot about that. So when the manager said that, you got 3 strikes, he had told me, you 1 strike now. I found out later on that was actually my 2nd strike. So I was out. I was out at this point. And I'm like, yo, this is crazy. And then when I looked at my clock, because it'll have the timestamp on there, and it had 14:30. So I wasn't out. But I was still scared. I put my card up there and I still just had a little tremble and I was just nervous and felt like I was going to be fired. And all day went by, nobody said nothing to me. So I had my job. And after that, I was like, I'm done with this guy. He ain't riding with me no more. I'm nothing. I ain't got nothing to say to him. So he was like, yeah, I'm riding with you. I never said yes or no. When he said something to me at lunch, I never said yes or no. I just looked at him. Then when it was the buzzing went off to go, the work was over with, I hustled on to my truck and I went out the third exit in the back and took that pothole road to the highway. And I got up out of there and I didn't give him a ride the very next day. I didn't pick him up. I got to work. He didn't come to work that day. I guess he called off sick because I didn't pick him up or he didn't have a ride. The very next day after that, I didn't pick him up again, but he was at work and then he called himself getting me straight. Hey, you ain't picked me up, made me not come to work the other day. I'd have missed money. You better be there tomorrow. He was an older guy. I want to say older. I bet he was probably in his mid to late 40s, maybe at the time. And I was probably, 18, 19. I was a young guy. So I just looked at him, said, okay. I told him okay. And I still didn't, the next day I did not go pick him up. After that, that day, of course, he wasn't at work. And then the very next day he was there, and then he didn't say nothing to me. He just looked at me. And then I never said nothing else to the guy after that. And that's pretty much that story. And and I thought about it today, and I figured I'd just do a quick show on it. Well, not quick, because again, the story kind of draws out, but it made me think of when somebody takes advantage of you. And it's a dog eat dog world. And if somebody can see that they can take advantage of you, they will. They won't consider if it's damaging you any kind of way. He never considered that I was on probation, that I could be late, I wouldn't have a job. All he knew is that he wanted to get his cans down there, to get his $12 and some change. He never considered that I'm on probation, but you already work there. I get snacks, and you gonna throw your snacks up there too, and see if you can get away with to get away with the hustle. And this is what people will do. It was like crackhead moves. You know what I mean? But I never put him in the category of a crackhead because I worked at a job. Now, I had dealt with crackheads before, but he had all those signs, but it was just removed from me. I figured he worked at this steel mill with me, that he's not a crackhead, but he could have very well been a crackhead, because everything he did was how a crackhead would do things. And he just took advantage where he could. He tell me stuff, and he just didn't care if I was late, didn't care about anything, and all he was worried about was himself, to the point where I could have lost my job, but it was meant for me to go ahead and work there, and it was meant for me to go through that experience. So yeah, that's my story on being taken advantage of, and I got a lot more where people tried to take advantage or did take advantage of me some kind of way. But as I got older, I was more and more savvy with it, and where you weren't able to get away with certain things. And now I'm just downright rude to people if I feel like they're trying to take advantage of me. But yeah, that's my story, man. And I just figured I'd tell you guys a story today instead of talking about entertainment news or local news. I'm still trying to figure out the whole editing process. I'm still learning as I go with the editing, and I'm still trying to figure out how to do reaction videos. Between working and being with my wife, I still got to find time to invest some time in it and try to learn how to do that. But I want to start doing reaction videos also, along with, different stories, along with reporting entertainment news. So I want to have kind of a well-rounded show over time. So I'm still learning. If everybody can bear with me and keep watching the show. But if you like the show, please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. You'll be the first to know when I have new content to upload. It's your boy, Carlito Monroe. Peace.